I'm Barbara Garcia. I'm originally from San Diego. I'm also a Latina lesbian, and I'm the Director of Health for San Francisco. So I was always the tomboy of the family. And so I got to play in the streets and play outside and play with the guys. And so that kind of gave me a little bit different perspective on family and also the ability to be free in terms of who I was. And that also gave me the opportunity to learn about myself, because I didn't have to play into the roles of what young girls were supposed to be doing. Although my father would send me during the summers to my older sister so I could learn how to be a wife, but that didn't really stick on me for very long. So I had a great experience when I was a teenager, where I had the Chicano movement was in its prime, and I worked in a neighborhood center, and I had all these college students that were around me telling me that I had to go to college, which I didn't even consider at that point. And so they really gave me the opportunity to understand how important education was. And so since that time, I'm still, anytime I can get to an education conference or whatever, I will go. But it took me 8 years to finish my BA and 9 years to finish my master's, because I had to continue to work while I was going to school. So it's a lifetime achievement. It should be something that you should look at, even if you have to do a little bit at a time, it's really important. And I think that made the difference, and I was taught that that's going to make the difference between, trying to have a life that you can help with others, because that was the other part, was that it wasn't just me going to college, it was me going to college and helping others to go to college as well. And I still see that as my passion. The period that I was growing up, too, was the time of women's liberation, so that really also helped in my freedom of who I was. So I didn't even know that the option of being a lesbian was even an option. But it wasn't until I got into the women's liberation movement and the Latino Chicano movement that I realized that that was an option, and that fit for me very, 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 very easy to do. And then, of course, coming out to my family was different in the aspect that I just would take my girlfriends home with me, and they would not say anything because I was bringing friends home. But I also had the experience of having family members that were gay that didn't also have the language of being a lesbian. Because my tia was, I would consider her a lesbian, but I don't think she would call herself a lesbian. But she had women partners for as long as we remember, but it was always my tia and her friend, and so there wasn't really a language. So I feel like in my coming out, I brought a language to being gay or being lesbian, and my family was very accepting of that. My sister, when I came out to her, brought all her family together, all her kids, and started saying, well, we need to talk about Tia Barbara. And they were going, well, what's going on with Tia Barbara? Well, she's gay. And they all looked at each other and started laughing. We all know that. And she was the only one that didn't know that I was. But yeah, but there's 3 generations in my family. So my nephew now has come out, lives in San Francisco. And that was also helpful for having the experience of my sister, who knew she had a gay sister, a lesbian sister, and that I think helped them in their family setting, accepting of my nephew as well. Having a language for it that's a more positive language, the language that we accepted and took on versus a language of society giving it, I think makes a big difference. When the HIV and AIDS epidemic hit, we were organizing Latino lesbian gay groups throughout the country through the National Latino Lesbian Gay Organization, and we were from all over the country, and that was an incredible experience to see what was going on. And a lot of the organizing that we saw prior to the HIV and AIDS was all around social support. So social groups were the groups that really, and we saw that throughout the country, that Latino and lesbian and gays would organize themselves in social groups. But when the HIV and AIDS epidemic hit, it had to become much more political. In terms of ensuring that Latino lesbians and gays in the communities were getting the messages and information and prevention, particularly prevention messages, because at that point there was no cure and no good medications for the epidemic. And then, of course, the Latina lesbians that were in the community took care of our brothers who were also ill during that period of time. And so 41 list is important because, for Latinos, we don't get to see a lot of ourselves reflected, TV, and any of the major medias. And the fact that we are one of the largest communities in this country, and even just by mere statistics. There's going to be a large population of gay, lesbians, and transgenders. And so it's so important for those of us who've had such the opportunity of following the trailblazers in our community that we also assist others to do that. And I hope this video does that for them.